Alright, so now we're going to take a look at the timeline. I'm going to show you guys everything from about here, excluding these tracks. I'll get into that in a separate section. So at the very top, we have what's called the overview. And you can click within here and it becomes a zoom tool by dragging up or down. If I'm zoomed in really close, then I can also click around and it'll jump to that section. I have the option to expand this or contract this by hovering in between the sections here. Next, there's these two buttons here which allow you to optimize for the track height, which will use up your screen space to make the track height taller. Or you can optimize by width, which will put, in this scenario, my whole song in perspective, like so. And then right beneath that, we have this section, which is just a dark gray kind of timeline. So within this timeline, you can also click to zoom here. So you have two main spots to do so. And then right here in this light gray area, right beneath the dark, that is how you click around to start playback at a certain point. So anytime you want to play at a certain point, you can just click there. You can see sometimes if I'm playing, it'll give me like a little bit of a quantized kind of playback. So another thing I could do in terms of playing back the music where I want it to play back, I can select a clip and just pause with spacebar and press spacebar again to initiate from that point. Also in this light gray area, you can add locators. So say every 16 bars I want to have some kind of locator. I can create them by right clicking and adding locators. And I can hit Command R or right click rename. I could say this is going to be my verse. And then this is going to be my chorus. Or I can make a note like I want to fill here. And so on and so forth. So you can do that however you'd like. Just know it is an option. And to add a time signature change, say I want to change here, I can actually just delete this. Say I want to add a time signature change. I could right click, insert time signature change. Say we'll go to 6/8 here. So now if we play our metronome, we'll see what we have. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could kind of see how that works. And we can also delete all time signature changes. Okay, so the blue triangle is going to correspond to places I click on the actual kind of session area where all my clips are. And this will also indicate where I'll start recording from. So if I hit record and maybe I take off counting, it should start right there. So if I had a clip here, I want to record here, I can do so. I can click over here. I want to record here now. Let's say I want to do this range, record. So yeah, I think that navigating is very easy in Ableton and makes punching in very quick. I could just press play, and then as soon as I'm ready to record, I could punch someone in and pause the recording. We have right here, these numbers correspond to our musical time, meaning measures, bars, beats, and then at the bottom we have seconds. So if you want to know how long this song would be, I can click and drag. And we have a marker here, so this song would be about 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Another thing to note when you are selecting a range here, that determines the export range. So when I go to export, it'll say from 1 to 86. So it automatically kind of imports that data, which is awesome. But we'll get into more on exporting. Selecting loops, you can select clips and hit Command L. And now you'll loop that section. You can click and drag these brackets around, shorten them. And of course, there's the Command 1 and Command 2, which is very helpful if you are copying and pasting stuff. Now let's develop more of a structured thing here. Oh yeah, so you can also change colors of clips by right-clicking clips and giving them a new color. Select, right-click. Also, if you want to rename clips, you can click them, hit Command R, and type a new name. Same for audio. So I'm going to quickly show you guys some kind of section manipulation for your sequence. So if I have this kind of thing going on and say I think, oh boy, now I want like a intro, I can select an area and hit, I can select an area and hit Command I, and it'll create silence there. And depending on how long I make that selection, that's how much time I'll be inserting. So I can undo with Command Z. Another thing I could do is Command copy something, and then Command Shift V will insert space for that clip. I could select ranges, so say I want this whole section to happen here, I can do that, and say that I am done arranging my stuff and I want to recolor everything back to kind of how it was. I can select everything, right click, and so I just click, shift click to the top, right click, and assign track color to clips. And that's a quick way to get all your clips colored according to their track. So let me also do these and do the same process. So that's a great way to remain organized. You can always move around your locators by clicking and dragging them. So putting audio onto your timeline, you see here it says I could just drop files and devices here. So anything from my browser that I kind of want to just, I guess the word would be instantiate, but that's a little nerdy. Anything that I want to throw on my tracks, I could just drop down these menus, click and drag something, and there you have some audio. Or say I want to do a plugin or something, I can do that as well, plugins. So that created me a new audio track with this plugin on it. So say I wanted to insert a silence here, I can do Command I. I can also duplicate things and Command Shift D, for example, will duplicate and nudge everything in the rest of the song over. So these are really useful tips for arranging your music. So one other thing, these arrows here allow you to jump to your markers. You could even hit the del button and it will delete said markers. So that's a really quick way to jump around from your markers. Within your timeline, when you want to automate stuff, you can hit A and it will show automation. The reason it's not working right now, you have to toggle your computer keyboard with M. As long as your computer keyboard is enabled, then your buttons will function as a keyboard and not as key commands. So in this instance, I'm going to hit A, and now you can see we have an automation view, and I can hit A again and toggle between the two. So if I want to automate something, for example, I have this convex here, which is a crazy thing with all kinds of macros. I can go to the drop down here and it'll say convex, and on the rest of here I can click on a parameter and you'll see that my automation curve changes, which means that whatever I click, my automation is going to correspond to that knob. I could also go to show automated parameters only, or I could configure the parameters as well. So I could go in here and configure parameters, but that's a little advanced. We'll get into that a little later when we are focusing on this specific section. For now, just know that you can toggle between automation modes just like that, and click and drag points by double clicking. You could select a range, right click, insert shapes. You could create curves by holding Alt and clicking, dragging up or down to create interesting shapes, just curving shapes basically. And you could also use this button here to lock your automation. So say I have this going on and then I put this audio into this thing and I want to duplicate the audio without duplicating the curves. As long as the lock is enabled, I won't copy the automation, but say I do want this to have all the automation, I could take off the lock, hit Command D to duplicate, and it copies all the automation over. So that's how you can quickly edit automation curves and create automation in Ableton. And I think that concludes everything in the timeline that I feel like you should know, and we can move on.